Good morning. My name's Councillor Anthony Kelly. I'm chair of today's meeting of the application by the local authority to review a premises licence at Indian Villa, number 1, Station Parade, Uxbridge Road, Ealing W5 3LD. I'll be chairing the meeting with my colleagues, Councillor Gallant and Councillor Jassel. We are today's subcommittee. We're also joined by Mr. Sam Kirkham, who is clerk to the subcommittee from the Democratic Services team, and he will be minuting the meeting. And also Hatun Zeb, who is legal advisor to the subcommittee. You will have all received or seen the agenda pack, within which is contained the licensing officer's report with details of the application in section 1 to confirm we are dealing with the application to review a premises license made by Mr. Bob Deere at Indian Villa, 1 Station Parade, Uxbridge Road, Ealing, W5 3LD. I will invite the applicant to present the application, answer any questions and call upon any witnesses, invite those who've made representations and objections to make them, answer any questions and call upon any witnesses. At the conclusion of the hearing, the subcommittee, accompanied by the legal advisor and Democratic Services officer, will retire to consider its decision. The decision will be given at the end of the meeting and confirmed in writing within 5 working days. If we're unable to reach a decision, you will also be notified in writing within 5 working days. So, Mr. Bob Deere, if you'd like to present the application, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is an application to review a premises called Indian Villa, which is at 1 Station Parade, Uxbridge Road, W5 3LD. The premises licence was transferred to Mr. Happy on the 11th of March 2021, and he became the designated premises supervisor on the 8th of November 2021. This review has come about because of one visit to the premises on the Saturday the 13th of May of last year, where with Home Office immigration enforcement officers. 2 males were encountered and both were working in the kitchen. The 2 males, one was found to have come into the country in a student visa, but was no longer doing that course. So his entitlement to work in this country stopped when he stopped studying, should I say. The second male, also in the kitchen, was allowed to work up to 20 hours per week. One pay slip that was showed to the officers, he worked 86 hours in April. Obviously, he's allowed to work 20 hours a week, and he also admitted working sometimes more than 20 hours. So both were detained. I believe one has been, after speaking to Mr. Happy, one has been released pending inquiries, but one man, I think, has been removed from the country. So that is my involvement in this case. I have John Burton, who's the immigration officer for Western Ice over at Hounslow, who can update the committee. Would you like me to read out the other side of immigration, their representation, which is in the report and was submitted?
I think so, yes. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Yes, basically it says on the 13th of May, as we know, 2023, officers from West London Immigration Compliance and Enforcement visited Indian Villa as point of a joint compliance visit. On entry to the premises, officers encountered 2 males working in the kitchen who were found to be working illegally. Unfortunately, my copy has got the names redacted. So one of them was granted a Tier 4 general student visa from the 3rd of November 2020 to the 17th of October 2024. On the 25th of November 2021, so just over a year later, the sponsoring university notified the Home Office that he was no longer studying at their establishment. His student visa was curtailed with an expiry date of the 29th of April 2023. The curtailment was made aware to Mr. Happy via his email address, which he submitted with his with the mail via his email address, which he submitted with his student application. Apologies. Therefore, at the time of the visit to the business on the 13th, he was no longer had leave to remain or work, right to work in the UK. When questioned by officers, he stated that he'd been working at the business for a year and a half, 20 hours at the weekend. Another male was encountered. His wife worked in the kitchen. It revealed that he was granted a student visa, which was due to expire in May 2024. Working restrictions of 20 hours per week during term time apply. When questioned by officers, he admitted that he'd been working at the business for 3 months full-time, 8 hours a day, 6 days per week. This totals to 48 hours per week, which is over double the amount of hours that he's allowed to work under his visa restriction. This indicates that he was working in breach of his restriction of 20 hours per week. I've got all that. Yeah. It was found the license holder employee stated he was aware of the restriction of hours, 20. However, one of the males was working excess hours, which breached his visa conditions. By employing the legal workers, sir, obviously it means that they deprives the HMRC and the government of revenue by non-payment of tax and national insurance. It exploits the undocumented by paying them less than the minimum wage and provides no employment or income protection, and encourages those without permission to work to seek similar employment. It allows a business to unfairly cut other businesses by employing cheap labour, and illegal workers are often housed in cramped and unsatisfactory conditions by the employer as part of their working arrangement. Just like to add for Mr. Happy's benefit, I appreciate this was not my representation. This was written by the Home Office, and some of those things I understand do not apply in this case, particularly the last one, because they lived away from the premises. So the immigration officer is here to ask any points of clarification on the law and these two other cases that are pending. I'd like to add that Mr. Happy has paid the £10,000 civil penalty in full already. His licence has 28 conditions, none about checking right to work and things like that. I know he has seen documentation from at least one of the males after speaking to him, but he admits that he hasn't followed up that online and regularly check those documents. So that's my part in this matter, sir. If there's any questions or any questions of the immigration officer.
Thank you. Ms. Panesar, do you have any questions on the details, Mr.
Well, not as much questions, just some clarifications, but I'm sure you'll come to me later on for those.
Well, yeah, but if you want anything clarifying now, this is the opportunity.
No, that's fine.
That's great. Yes. Councillor Gallant. Yes. No.
Chair, I'm fine for the moment, thanks. I may come back later, but I'm fine. No.
Of course, yes. Councillor Jassel, questions to Mr. Dare or the immigration officer?
I've got a question for Mr. Happy.
Okay, so just hold that, please. Yeah, I'll invite you in. Mr. Dare, you sort of said to do with conditions and right to work. Is it typical to have conditions? To just remind me, and it could be something that Patty can help us with. Right to work is in every is in every application. I mean, it's one of the first things that's highlighted. I know when I read agendas, it's one of the first things that comes up. So I just want to explore why you commented on that.
Yes, Chair. It's just that sometimes, and on this licence, I'm very quickly looking, it doesn't come under the mandatory conditions. I'm just checking that. But obviously some licenses are old. This isn't old. Isn't an old license. But I know in the past that condition has been added if a decision has been made to do an alternative sanction. So.
Okay. So again, this might be a question for Hattie, I suppose, to you. But when we look at an application form, a public document pack, normally when it comes through, one of the first things that is stated about the right to work in the UK. But is that just the applicant, or does that apply to all the staff members? I'm just trying to get some clarification, because we're talking about conditions here. I want to know whether we need to be putting them in the first place. It should be understood.
Chair, so if I can clarify, Mr. Legal Advisor to the panel. So the question was in regards to the immigration checks and what's stated on the application. So what's stated on the application is the immigration status of the applicant, not the employees of the applicant. So the employees of the applicant is the sole responsibility of the applicant to ensure that they're compliant with, or he's compliant with the checks that he needs to carry out to satisfy himself that these persons that he is employing have the right to work within the UK and have the necessary permits or visas applicable for the hours that he is employing persons in. So your question in relation to the application itself, that is in relation to, in this case, it would be Mr. Happy himself, not necessarily his employees. In regards to the condition, Mr. Deere is absolutely correct. It's a matter for this committee, if indeed you choose not to revoke, which is what you've been invited to do by the reviewing officers. There are other options available to you, and you may consider adding a further condition stipulating that Mr. Happy, in whatever terms you consider necessary, carry out immigration checks as required under the Immigration Act for any future employees. Does that answer your question?
That's very, very helpful. Yes, it does. Yes.
Thank you.
It's just good to get that separation between the applicant and the employees thereof, because I know it's very prominent when I read applications. Okay. Thank you very much. Councillor Gallant, questions at the moment to
Yes.
detail?
Yes, thank you very much. So I'd like to ask Bob Deere and possibly John Burton, just about the interaction with the college. This is Royal Holloway College. It's cited in the papers. What was the interaction? Was there any exchange with them, or is it just how was it discovered that they'd actually revoked the work permit?
Can I put that over to Mr. Burton, sir?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Hello there, yes. The college notified the Home Office that they had ceased to study, and so therefore the leave was curtailed.
Okay, so the question is, how would that have been made known to the proprietor, to Mr. Happy?
He would have been notified by email and post that his leave would have been curtailed due to failing to study.
So sorry, the worker would have been informed,
Yes.
but Happy have been informed as the employer.
No, he wouldn't have been. He would not have been notified by the college. No.
Right, I see. So okay. So that's thank you very much for now. That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. No other indications. Yes, if we can go to the premises, please. Ms. Panesar, this is present your case, ma'am.
Yes, okay. So as you just stated, that Mr. Happy wasn't informed that the worker's visa was curtailed at the time. Yes, work to right checks were undertaken for the male one that I'm referring to prior to employment. And as far as Mr. Happy was aware, the visa was valid until the 17th of October 2024 this year. We believe that obviously work to right checks are permitted by Happy, which he did do prior to the employment of both employees, but he was not informed that it was curtailed. Also, Happy did apply for a COS for this employee, and it was granted on the 17th of April for him to work for Mr. Happy. In regards to the second employee, when his visa is due to expire May 2024, allowed to work 20 hours per week. In immigration enforcement correspondence received, Mr. Happy paid the penalty for the first employee. It was found that he was not found to employ an illegal worker for the second one. There was no penalty. He complied with all evidence with the Home Office, and it was found that he was legally working. And with employee number 1, he was also being released. It was found that I believe that he's legal now, and he was released from detention.
Can I say?
Yeah.
On the behalf of the letter, which one issued by the Home Office to him to when I was applying for his sponsorship to sponsor him, and in the April, so the judge bailed him on the behalf of that letter, to saying that he wasn't illegal in my side, I think.
And also, I'll just add that he's got his COS and it's not been revoked for your license, has it?
Yeah.
Oh, we can't hear.
Yeah, sorry. Just bear with me, please.
No problem.
I've got you signalling, Councillor Gannon. I've got you there. Just
The reason is, Chair, could we be very careful, please, to make sure we know who we're talking about, which worker we're talking about, because their names are not published. And Happy's been talking about one of them, and I wasn't absolutely certain which one.
Sorry to butt in. That was employee number 1.
Okay.
That he was referring to regarding the curtailment visa.
Thank you.
Okay. In terms of the fine that you've paid, can you
Yeah.
confirm who you've paid the fine on as a result of?
Employee number 1 for the curtailment,
Okay.
which we are looking into revert back to the Home Office for that, because obviously prior to the expiry, the COS was allowed, so there's some issue there for him to the premises.
Anything else, Ms. Pallister? Obviously, this is, I mean, you will have an opportunity to come
No,
in.
that's fine for now, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's fine. Councillor Jassel, you had a question for Mr. Happy through his legal representative.
Yes, I had a question for Mr. Happy. When did you realise that the gentleman had gone over his 20 hours? Was it when immigration arrived and checked all his details and how many hours he'd worked and looked at the payslip? Or did you know beforehand?
Immigration arrived and checked the payslips, and they confirmed that he was working the correct amount of hours.
Yeah.
I believe, therefore, he wasn't penalised for that employee.
Right. I'm sure I read somewhere in one of the statements, but
Okay, let's.
gone over his hours.
So I think, but let's perhaps rephrase it. I mean, I think Councillor Jassel wants, you're suggesting that they weren't working over the hours. So why do you think that they weren't working over the hours then, Mr. Happy? You said you didn't realise because you don't believe that they were. So were they working more than 20 hours or not?
No, there wasn't.
They weren't working more than 20 hours a week.
No, I believe there's been evidence which supports that from the immigration enforcement correspondence to state, I believe, can you just clarify, are you referring to employee number 2?
I think Ms. Jassel is referring to number 1. I mean, number 1 is the one that's sort of had
the curtailment.
had the the fine applied to. So I think we that's where I suggest we focus our that's where Mr. Burton, I think I invite you to clarify, please.
Okay, my understanding is that it's in fact his employee number 2 for which the fine was levied because he was working in breach of his conditions, whereas employee 1 had his leave curtailed, and as we've already ascertained, Mr. Happy was not aware and would not have been aware that that leave had been curtailed, so therefore there was no fine levied for that person.
Okay.
Sorry, can I interrupt?
Yeah, go.
On the civil penalty notice that we received, we can confirm that the penalty was actually for employee number 1, not employee number 2.
Which one we were sponsoring?
For the one with the curtailment, that is what the penalty.
Okay. I'm going, right, so the pay slips, what, and this is a question for Mr. Happy, because, well, my first question is, do you, how many members of staff are employed at this premises?
It's 6 of them.
So you work, you're open in the evenings, you don't open during the day, is that correct?
Yeah.
Right, so you're open from 4 p.m. At 7 days a week, yes?
Yes.
Fine. So how many chefs do you have on shift?
I've got 2 full-time chefs and then
Two full-time chefs. And you have a kitchen assistant, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how many waiting staff do you have?
I got 2.
2. And how many covers do you do?
It depends. It's sometimes
Maximum. What's your seating? What's your maximum seating?
40.
40. Okay, yeah. So obviously you can do up to 40 in one sitting. And in terms of yourself, how often are you there?
Every single day.
Every single day. And do you manage any other? So do you manage any other restaurants, sir?
No.
Great, thank you. And how long have you been managing the operator of the restaurant?
Since I opened it.
Which roughly which time was that?
It was in November 2020, before lockdown.
Just before lockdown.
Yeah,
So-
it was a lockdown kind of business.
Okay, so now those so you're in control of the business. So you accept that you're in. I will accept now that you're in control of the business, which is very useful. So those pay slips, who generates those pay slips?
The accountant does.
Okay, so when you say accountant, they just do the payroll, or they do your whole accountancy function?
Like payroll, yeah.
Payroll, fine. And those pay slips, they're issued every month?
Yes.
Every month. And what would a pay slip have said? I.e., how many hours, how many shifts? I mean, we haven't been presented with the pay slip, so I'm just trying to get to the bottom of why. I mean, there's been a bit of a contest. You know, the FPN, there's a discussion that's being contested. So I want to sort of be sure what the pay slip said.
So which pay slip are you referring to?
Well, any of them really, but anybody that shouldn't be working more than 20 hours a week. What was their hourly rate?
So they're on minimum wage, are they?
Yeah, like 20 hours the guys were doing.
So I didn't get that, sir. 20. So
20,
somebody working 20 hours times 4.33 weeks a year would be earning how much? If you're employing students, what do you pay? What's the maximum you could pay them?
It depends on the experience. Some of them have experience with it. I mean, everybody was on over minimum national wage.
Okay, so again, my question is, what's the maximum you would be paying a students working 20 hours a week, 20 hours a week times 4, what would you be paying them?
Some of them was, I mean, as I said, like if you have experience, you get about 14, 15 pounds an hour as well.
Yeah, it's still not answering my questions, Mr. Happy. I mean, I've done a calculation here. But you're not. You haven't given me a calculation as to what 20 hours, a minimum wage, 4 point, at 4 weeks. How much would that be?
It's around 830 something.
Sorry?
If you're doing 20 hours for minimum wage, it's be around 800.
About 800 before tax.
Yes.
Okay, that's about right. Yes. Okay, fine. So how much were the pay slips saying?
The same. Which pay slip we talking
And
about?
any of them really, and your student pay slips, the people that you consider
833 something.
Sorry?
833 something.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Burton, are you able to talk about the veracity of what that might, does that sort of align with the pay slips that you saw?
I have the statements of the arresting officers here, and the one concerning number 2 states that they saw a pay slip, just the one pay slip, which showed him having worked 60 hours in. He worked 6 days. So sorry, his day. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, just bear with us. I'll bear with you. So just while Mr. Burton's looking for that, you were talking about sponsoring one of the employees, number 1 or 2. So yeah. Obviously, can you just explain what's the background behind that? Given.
So Mr. Happy wanted to, I believe, employ the employee number 1 full time. Therefore, he has a sponsorship license at his premises, which invites migrants to come have permission to work at the premises with certain conditions, certain pay, etc., etc. He applied for a COS known as a certificate of sponsorship for this employee number 1 on prior to the curtailment of the expiry of the visa, and he was accepted on the 17th of April to be able to work for Mr. Happy's establishment.
Okay, and are these employees sort of they're from overseas, and I Mr. Happy, you're an Indian national, is that correct? Yeah, and these people are Indian nationals as well?
Yeah.
Okay, and are they from your sort of hometown or region? Or I appreciate India is a very large place with a massive population, but are they people sort of known to you personally, or through family, friends?
No.
They're not. Okay, so they're just people that have been working your establishment, and you consider them to be worthwhile in continuing employment with.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, Chair, if I may just intervene just for a moment, I think that the page that Councillor Jassel initially raised a query on is page 52 of the agenda pack, which refers to within the statement of the officer, the immigration officer, who talks about the 86 hours and indeed the 20-hour per week and 40 hours if it assists Mr. Burton in applying his answer in relation to that particular question.
So it's page 52 of the sort of big pagination and sort of page 48 of the small pagination.
Yes, that's it. Indeed, it's the last 3 paragraphs or thereabouts.
It's the last question, sir, asked by Shaban Ahmed, the officer. He says, you provided me his pay slip. It says that he worked 86 hours in April pay period, excuse me, and he answered, Mr. Happy answered, he must have worked an extra day.
Okay, Mr. Happy, can you perhaps respond to that?
Yeah, do you want me to respond?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've discussed this issue with Mr. Happy, and the 86 states actually, the 6 hours extra was actually for a trial shift, which he paid him for prior to the employment. So I believe he said when the employee came for the trial shift, that was separate to the 80 hours which he worked, and he added it on to that pay slip, which probably was not a good idea. But all other evidence and pay slips which the Home Office have looked at have verified that they're all in order.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Burton?
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify that from the arresting officer's statement, the worker number 2 stated that he did work 6 days a week and was working from till 10 p.m. every day.
Well, 4 till 10, or conceivably more than, could start earlier than 4. So
But he said he worked, he took Monday off, but worked 6 days, 3 p.m. till 10 p.m.
This is employee number
2.
Mr. Happy, Mr. Employee number 2. Tell me who, without telling me who he was, tell me what he done there, when he worked there, what his tasks were, when he started, when he finished, and what was your supervision of him?
He was only doing 20 hours, sir, but because we open from 4, even he's saying he does 8-hour shift and we close 10, so it's a 7-hour. Clearly, he wasn't even saying right. And then he used to come because he was a kitchen porter, so he don't need to come with the chefs early. So he always comes in over the weekend, but always late starting. So he's never done it more than 20 hours. He's the same guy was on a pay slip, which is
So this kitchen porter, this is the kitchen porter.
Yes,
we're talking about now. So he's not a chef. And
no.
is this the gentleman that you were intending to sponsor?
No, that's the one, other
Number
ones.
1. Okay, right, fine. Yes, just okay. So the kitchen porter. So you're saying he hadn't worked. So you gave him a trial, you said. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I mean, okay. Who's your kitchen porter? I mean, how many hours does your kitchen porter work there now?
Now, still same, sir, 20.
So at the moment you've got a student there as well.
It's 2 of them, so they do.
So your kitchen porters currently are students as well?
No, now at the moment, no.
Okay. I'm just trying to get a feel of your business operation, sir.
Okay.
And trying to establish whether this was an oversight or an error, but I'm still not getting messages through as much as I'm asking. So, what is your business model what is your human resources business model in your establishment when it comes to employing staff, and how students fit in to this? This is what I'm trying to elicit.
So now I don't have any student working for me. Only one guy does, which is the waitress, but he does a 20-hour. If anybody need a pay slips, I can provide all his pay slips. And then rest of the staff is on either a British citizen or a European citizen, or they have the full-time work permit, which is after the home office visit. I never hire anybody. And now, which is I record all their staff data is on Bright HR software, which is when they come. I check the visa status with the sharing code and add it to this software, and which works with home office as well. Tells me anybody's visa expiring or anything, and everybody, if anybody need a day off or anything, they request it through that, and so everything become kind of digitally stored, recorded in there. And anybody sick, they can request it through their holidays and stuff. Everything in there.
That last part was very, 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 very helpful. Thank you. Okay.
Chair, I have one point of clarification, please.
Yes, sir.
Just looking at, well, I've looked at page 51 of the, I think it's page 51. On mine, it says in large letters 51 at the bottom. It says, we're talking about, I think, person 1 was granted a tier 4 general visa from the 3rd of November, because that's it. He says he's worked there for, when questioned by officers, he stated they'd been working at the business for a year and a half at 20 hours at the weekend. That's person subject 1, the guy that Mr. Happy has sponsored. It then goes on at the bottom to say the second person that was encountered was granted a tier 4 student visa, which is due to expire in 2024.
Yeah.
And this, he basically admitted that he worked at business for 3 months full time. It says right at the bottom, last paragraph, 8 hours a day for 6 days a week. This totals 48 hours per week, which is over double the hours he is allowed to work. And that is number 2, is it, Mr. Happy?
Yeah, kitchen porter.
Number 2, yeah.
Yeah. So he admits working 48 hours a week for 3 months that he was there. Is that correct?
Yeah, but he was saying that even though you count, sir, look, from 3 to 10 is a 7-hour shift. Let's say if he was telling true, but it still doesn't come to 8-hour shift. And he's saying to home office said that he did 8 hours.
What was he doing there? Just tell me how many hours he worked there, Mr.
He was doing the 20 hours. It's the same guy.
Okay, so the thing is, so why is he saying what? Okay, so he's been paid why is he saying that he worked there the hours that Mr. Deere has stated, and you're saying that he didn't? So why is those two stories don't align at all? It's not a question of a few hours here or there. It's 1 day less, and it's 1 day less and extra hours every day.
Yeah, we don't even trade 8 hours, sir. So from
well, you do. You open at 4, and you're licensed until 11, and you have preparation time and closing up time. So there is an 8-hour day there, how many hours did he work there?
He did.
What days did he work there? What time did he start? What time did he finish?
Because his shift was different, so every week, average.
On average,
20.
This time last year in February, what time did he come in? What time did he finish?
He roughly was coming around 5 or 6. It depends on the day. Like some days he had to go to his college or uni, but he never crossed over 20. So
never crossed over 20.
Yeah.
Chair, one point.
Go ahead, Bob.
When I asked that question about that, he said he's worked for 3 months full time, 8 hours a day, 6 days per week, and I mentioned that's 48 hours. Mr. Happy came back and said, no, we don't do 8-hour shifts. Well, even if he does 3 till 10, 6 times 7 is 42. Yeah, so that's still double what he should have been working.
Yeah, but he was a kitchen porter, sir. He wasn't a chef, so he don't need to come early.
Yeah, but what was he?
He wasn't coming early, so that was my whole point. So he wasn't doing that many hours, what he's saying.
Okay. Right, I need to get back to my list. Julian, Councillor Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. Just on student one, please. Can I get this right? Because I wasn't on the original papers, the certificate of sponsorship. I don't think it was mentioned. So he did basically stopped studying at Royal Holloway. His visa was curtailed on the 29th of April 23. Are you saying that the certificate of sponsorship was issued on the 17th of April?
23. We have the correspondence for that from the Home Office to verify.
It replaced his student working with a certificate of sponsorship.
Yes, it would do.
Yeah, I see. Okay, that's the question. So this is a bit more of a question about the students. When he was working for you before, was he already working for you? But by the time when he was actually working under student license.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So how were you checking on that? Were you checking with him about his studying hours and making sure that were you aware of what his studying was or whether he was studying or not?
Yeah, he was only working with me on the weekends, sir. So he said weekdays he goes to uni, which is I don't know what he was going or no because.
Okay. So okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's the question. Thank you very much. That's great. Thanks.
Okay. Cindy, your blurred hand there. Go ahead. Councillor Jassel.
I have a question for Happy.
Mhm.
When the immigration officer S. Ahmed interviewed you, it says here that you declined to sign the record of the employer interview, and then he states, the officer said, then I explained what would happen next for him and to wait for the letters from the Home Office. I also served Happy with an illegal working referral notice. So could you explain what that means, please?
Well, I think that's probably a question from Mr. Burton.
Oh.
Yeah, that's fine. So after if there are illegal workers found on a premises, each worker is interviewed individually, and then the employer is interviewed, and the subsequent interviews crossed over. After that interview, it is read back to the person, and they are offered the opportunity to sign it to confirm that what was said. They don't have to sign that. That is their option. My belief from the statement is that Mr. Happy declined the offer to sign. After that, he would have been handed a referral notice for illegal worker saying that we had found these two people on the premises and that they had no right to work in the UK or they were in breach of their conditions. And he would have been explained that the process would be that this referral would be sent to the civil penalties team, who would then in turn contact him once they've made their decision.
So Councillor Jassel wants to know why Mr. Happy didn't sign that. Thank you.
I did ask that exact question to Mr. Happy earlier this morning, and he stated because the officer said it wasn't a requirement, so therefore he didn't sign.
Okay, that's useful. Anything else, Councillor Jassel?
It just says in the same on the same page that Mr. Happy was quite nervous when he was giving that interview. So I was just wondering, what was he nervous about?
It just was a surprise to me because I was going to drop my daughter home and then suddenly something happened on a restaurant. You never face these kind of things. So of course, even anybody will be nervous. I mean, it's nothing to be nervous about it, but still it was something new. So
this is the first time immigration has come to your restaurant?
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah.
So what you were saying about the civil penalty notice that would be given to Happy, like I say, I revert back to the outcome of that. he was found not to have any penalty for employer 2 and paid an penalty for employer 1.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we will go to summing up now, please, Mr. Dear, and then give the opportunity to Ms. Panesar to sum up on behalf of Mr. Happy. Obviously, I haven't heard anything to do with conditions, so obviously just be mindful of that, please, everybody. If there's any conditions that are proposed, now is a good opportunity for us to consider them. And I was be very happy to hear anything further about any human resources procedures that will be enforced. We heard a little bit about them, and I'd be very pleased to hear anything more about them from either parties. Thank you. Bob?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this is a sort of a normal case we get with immigration, especially during the interviews, where obviously the workers, how many are found on the premises, say one thing, and obviously the proprietor will normally say they've just started work or something like that. Obviously, I appreciate here one of the workers has been there a year and a half, and he's obviously now got a certificate of sponsorship, and the other guy, unfortunately, I don't know what happened to him, but in these cases, the civil penalties are, I've seen ones where we find 2 workers and they only get £10,000 or whatever. It does make me wonder if it's been contested why Mr. Happy paid it so promptly, because he didn't get it reduced for paying promptly, and
Sorry, can I add in? It was originally 15 and it was reduced to 10.
Sorry, Ms. Panesar, you can do that in your summing up.
I'll put my. That's all right, Chair. I'll stand corrected. Thank you.
It's okay, but let's not have any interruptions. And Ms. Panesar can sort of dispute anything in her with summing up. Thank you.
Okay. No, obviously, I'll sort of take that back. Thank you. But again, we see premises that are brought before this committee that owe a lot more money than that to Home Office, and haven't paid on 2 or 3 occasions. But this is a case where Mr. Happy has got a lot of condition in his licence, and obviously in your decision between you, if you decide that not to revoke the licence, which still stands for me, because there is a lot of difference about the hours worked and from one to the other, and is to consider making it conditions that every worker he employs will have to be checked every 6 months, a year. And obviously those records that Mr. Happy has stated he has, that is it's probably on the computer, I would have thought, but they should be made ready for inspection by any immigration officer, police officer or local authority officer at the time of a visit. And that's my summing up, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burton, did you want to add anything to that, just as you're here?
No, I totally concur with Mr. Dear.
Right, fine, no problem. Ms. Panesar, just bear in mind, this is, I'm not saying this is your very last chance, but this is generally where we wrap up after you've spoken, unless we've got other things we want to clarify. Just bear in mind, Mr. Dear has suggested a condition of every worker, employee to have checks once every 6 months. And given Mr. Happy's talked about a HR system, I'll leave that for you to consider when you're summing up. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, firstly, in regards to the penalty, when Mr. Happy came to us, it was the end of the year and you only get a certain amount of days to make the payment. The original fine was for 15,000. It got reduced to 10,000. Happy and I have had separate discussions regarding to challenge that penalty, as you stated, why we paid it, because obviously he was in a panic himself. He's never been in this situation before. Literally, when he came to us, there was 1 day left for the payment to be made or so. So he made the payment. We're going to discuss challenging that separately. In regards to the right to work checks and everything, yes, Mr. Happy does check upon employment of the employees. We do agree the condition for potentially rechecking the rights to work every 6 months or a year or so. But in terms of the sponsorship license that our Mr. Happy holds, it does state that if he needs to report anything new to the Home Office, i.e. employees not attending work, etc. So at that point of the curtailment, he was not aware, and usually another right to work check would be done just prior to the visa expiring. But we have no problem with the conditions of checking further than that.
Thank you very much. Miss Panzer, when you say us, and I think it's just useful.
Right, Mr. Happy.
No, but when you say us, you represent a solicitor, yes? And what's the name of your solicitors? Sorry?
Max Law Solicitors.
Sorry, Max Law.
Yes.
MAX.
MAXLAW.
Sorry.
MAXLAW. Max.
LEW.
LAW. Max Law.
Max Law. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because when you say us, I think it's
Oh,
helpful.
sorry. Apologies, sir.
It's okay, because your details came to us at the very last moment today.
I did. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Don't have any other indications from anybody. Thank you, Councillor Gallant, Councillor Jassel. I will take your silence as implied. So before we retire to deliberate, Ms. Seb, anything we have missed?
No, Chair, not
Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
So I've got 11:54. I would anticipate us to be back in the room at 12:30. So if you want, so what happens is we'll stop the live feed now, and we'll come back. You'll be allowed back into the room about 11:25.